You can't control the world around you. You can't control what somebody else thinks, what somebody else feels, but what you can control is how you choose to react. I went to school to become a teacher. Through the course of that, I realized I didn't exactly think that that was the right fit for me. I met a little girl there that had never smiled, and she was about 2 years old. I guess she had never seen somebody with blonde hair. So I took my hair out of my ponytail and kind of like rubbed it on her face, and this big smile. In that moment, I felt change, and I went home and I said, I just think that I need to be doing more for the world around me.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello everyone! Today we're meeting Morgan Denicola. She is an executive director of DeNicola Foundation and vice chairman of Humpty Dumpty Institute in New York. Hello, Morgan. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's start our conversation by diving into your journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
Well, it's actually a really interesting story. I went to school to become a teacher, and through the course of that, I realized I didn't exactly think that that was the right fit for me. So I then went to work for my parents. Sierra entrepreneurs. So we've been in healthcare, we've been in technology, publishing. So I was doing some marketing for them and still kind of feeling like I wasn't where I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And a few people that my dad knew were doing a trip to Africa, and
Mm.
they had asked, "Do you think your daughter would want to go?" And
Mhm.
what am I going to do in Africa? I'm in marketing. I don't understand why, but sure, I would love to go on this trip and see what it was about. And I went to visit this orphanage that had these children that either their parents died from AIDS
Mm.
or they themselves have AIDS. And I was really moved by the experience. It was run by Buddhist monks, but it was in Africa. It was very diverse and unique. And
Right.
I met a little girl there named Comfort that had never smiled. And I couldn't help but pick her up and hold her. And she was about 2 years old. And she was looking at my hair. And because I guess she had never seen somebody with blonde hair, it was a very
Mm.
interesting moment. And so I took my hair out of my ponytail and kind of like rubbed it
Mm.
on her face, and this big smile. She just started smiling and laughing. And I, in that moment, I felt changed. I had this incredible interaction and brought joy to somebody.
Mm.
And I went home and I was speaking with my family, and I said, I just think that I need to be doing more for the world around me. I don't
Mhm.
know what that is. I really don't know what that is, but I feel restless.
Mhm.
And my parents are amazing people, and they were like, we've been so blessed. They were always doing charitable work, but
Mm.
they said, you know what? Let's start a small charity. And it started out as Cosmo Cares. My dad's name is Cosmo.
Mm. Wow.
Um, and they asked me, they're like, "Are you okay with this?" And I said, "Yeah, the name Cosmo is catchy. Cosmo Cares." And
Beautiful.
yeah, we just started growing, and we decided to then form the DeNicola Family Foundation. And now I run that, and I sit on the board of a few different groups, and I advise them on how they can continue to give back to their communities and how they can have sustaining programs. So it was this journey of kind of figuring out exactly what I wanted to do, but deep down, your gut always is telling you, you're not there yet.
Mhm.
Um, and that's how I wound up running our family foundation.
Wow, that's interesting. So it was like a moment where you felt that connection with another human being. And on that deep level, you recognize our true nature of us, who we are. And every one of us, it's kind of like within ourselves, there is an awareness of something that is higher than who we are. And we're all connected to that. And knowing that you could be the one that's could light somebody up or show them some enjoyable experience, and them really like seeing you as a reflection of who they are. So it's beautiful to find that very deep connection between ourselves. And we a lot of times don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable or to come to this really open contact with other people, because we are, consumed with our thoughts, our emotions, our stress in a daily life. And it's hard for us to bring our awareness in that present moment where the change usually happens. And with us really like not knowing that it's important, we kind of like being distracted by what's going on around us, social media, TV, anything that could be a distraction, we engage in that. But really, what helped you to kind of bring yourself back to that present moment and to be more aware of where you're at right now and what is, next for you, and what ignites your soul and what gives you passion. So is there any kind of like maybe practice or tools that you used in your life that helped you to come back to that awareness?
Definitely the practice of meditation and disconnection. Like you said,
Yeah.
being surrounded by TV and social media, yes, we get that instant gratification, because there's that noise around us. We almost fear that internal dialogue you have with yourself. But if you force yourself to turn everything off and sit quietly with yourself, it's
Mm.
incredible the conversation you can have back and forth that pushes you to say, well, you have these doubts, or you think, well, what could I do? What could I contribute? What makes me different? And you kind of, I think we're programmed to put ourselves down rather
Mm.
than lift ourselves up. And in those meditative moments, I find that I kind of change that dialogue into encouragement of,
Mm.
let's push yourself. You can, you should. And it becomes this more positive conversation, and you find that self-love. So I feel like every day I need to disconnect and listen to what's going on inside myself and really have those conversations. And sometimes, you know, I have those conversations and it's more like you need a nap.
Yes.
Not always something incredibly deep or incredibly moving. Sometimes it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have eaten that family size bag of potato chips earlier.
Yeah.
You can have those conversations. But I feel like that is when you hear those higher voices and that higher calling of, well, you can be doing so much more to connect with
Mm-hmm.
other people. So I definitely like to do that daily and connect with myself first,
Yes.
little self-love, and then start to try to connect in whatever way I can that day with the world around me.
Definitely. And self-love, I feel like it's the most missing ingredient that we all, we don't give enough credit to how important that is. It's not a luxury. It's supposed to be an essential practice that we incorporate in our daily life and really prioritize our health and well-being to the point that we are the most important people here right now, right? So we should first give ourselves that care, that love, that support before we can help other people, because then we would be given from a different place, much more beneficial for everybody involved. So we should really know, our, kind of like importance and significance here, our self-worth. And a lot of people disconnected from that understanding that they're here for a reason. It's not a mistake that you exist. If you exist, that means you matter. That's it. No other validation you need from the outside world to tell you that you're worthy. Just by being here, you're worthy. So you already know there is a reason for you to exist, and you just need to like really reconnect with your authentic voice and what is it that drives you, that you are good at, that you can be of service to other people. What is it? Because if you know what is that and you connect with that and you nourish that, everybody wins. That's the best that you can do.
And when you're able to love yourself, you have you're overflowing with love. So giving love to the world around you becomes an effortless thing to do. And you start to see the people you are engaging with start to light up around you, and you feel good, they feel good, but it really does have to start at home. It does have to start with you looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? I love me, and it's not an arrogant thing. It's not, I think we have this idea that it's a little bit of arrogance, but
Oh,
it's not.
selfish, people say.
Yes, and that doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't, because once you really do embrace who you are at this point, and
Yes.
then still have that willingness to change, I like to say, I love who I was, I love who I am, and I love who I'm going to be, because I know I'm not going to be the same person 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but I'm going to love me now, and I'm going to love me, whenever I meet that person.
Yes, definitely. And love is unconditional. You don't love yourself because you look pretty or you wear certain makeup or something else, but just with everything, with good, bad, and ugly, right? You are a unique expression of that divine nature that we all are. And there's only you, like yourself right now, nobody else. And that's something you should embrace, you should celebrate, you should be proud of, right? And of course, we all change, nothing is static here. And if you just know the nature of how everything goes, is focusing on what matters for you, what is of your enjoyment, and like passion, that would be the best way for you to navigate. And of course, giving yourself that self-care and love, that's where it all starts. You have to be your own cheerleader. Even if everybody, has their own opinions about what you should do, you know the best. You should listen to your inner voice, to the intuition, the guidance that really becomes more apparent when you start being still. Like you said, once you quiet, you still, you're in that meditative state, you quiet your mind, and then you listen, because stillness speaks. It speaks when you listen, but you have to bring yourself to that neutrality, and really like exit from that noise around you. And that's something you can do intentionally every single day by scheduling that in your daily routine of something that is essential for you. It's non-negotiable. You have to nourish yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting yourself into that routine, it's like flexing a muscle. It's working out. You get better and better at it. You hear that
Yeah.
clarity in that voice. It just gets easier, and it becomes more and more beneficial. I know when I first started doing it, the thoughts racing in and out of
Hmm.
my head, it was so loud. I am I doing this right? That was always a really fun question. It's like, well, there
Yeah.
isn't really a right way of doing it. It's you're
No,
having is there a right way to have a conversation with yourself? I mean,
not really.
not really, right? It is, as long as it's a positive of nature and you're not berating yourself, and you give yourself an opportunity to talk to whatever's higher out there, your higher version of yourself. And I know for me, it became easier to connect with people by connecting with myself at the beginning of the day.
Yes, and it's just gets better after you, like you said, if you already know yourself on a deep, intimate level, you're honest with yourself, you're really accepting yourself with everything that you've been through in your past, that you're going through right now, and you're like a parent to that inner child. You would never talk back or say negative things. You always catching yourself of what is it that you are telling yourself, because this is something that we dismiss and we're putting ourselves down. We're not allowing ourselves to go forward and step into that power. We self-sabotage and we don't notice that. So it's all like subconscious. But also, sometimes if something goes wrong, if something is not perfect or not as it's supposed to be to a certain standards that nobody knows why, and then like you saying yourself, I'm not meeting that expectation, I'm not good enough. And again, you're putting yourself down. And with everything that you say, it's how like you absorb it, and then like you know that if I'm not believing in my own abilities and skills, maybe I shouldn't even try. So it's kind of like one thought after another, and you don't even giving yourself a chance, but rather know that nothing is perfect. Everything you do is great because there are no standards. It's your way. It's a good way because it's your way, and you just need to proceed with whatever kind of like obstacles or setbacks you're gonna get. Again, like it's the way you look at it, it's not what happens. That's important. The meaning that you give to the event or experiences in your life, that's what you're gonna get out of it. So it's up to you how you decide to look at it. But again, being that person who looks from a perspective of your highest value, you need to be aware.
Absolutely. I like to say that there's no failure if you learn from it, right? If you're constantly learning and you don't give up on yourself, there's never been a failure. Yes, it might not be exactly the way you envisioned it, but my mom used to always say, zoom out, see the full picture.
Yeah.
And whenever I was like, that wasn't right, I didn't do that right, now I zoom out and I'll think back. Oh, I remember when that wasn't exactly the way I wanted it to be. I wasn't ready. I wasn't at that point. For me, being able to love myself, being able to listen to myself, and it took a lot of practice, now makes it easier in my job to relate to other people. And I think to myself, like, well, why couldn't I have done this 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't having those conversations. I wasn't loving myself and I wasn't listening. But I don't look back and think any of it was a failure. I just think I wasn't there yet, and now I am. So whenever now that I trip, I like to say like a little trip or a hiccup, I think to myself, okay, I'm probably just not there yet. There's something else I need to work on, and I'm going to work on it. It's not a no, it's not I can't do that. It's okay, there's something I need to still be working on to get to that point. So if you look at everything from that positive light, and not berating yourself and not being negative on yourself, but okay, I need to work out a little bit more, I need to work this out a little bit more, and I'll get there. You achieve so much more and you connect so much more.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, like you said, something telling you that it's not the time yet. It's not a divine timing for that to happen yet. So perhaps you need to gain some insight or experience something to really like know for sure that that would be the direction you will be going. And usually we see it, after something happened, looking back, we understand why we, let's say, didn't get a certain job or didn't meet a certain person. Perhaps I wasn't at the state that I am right now, and that was the reason for it. And I didn't know that I needed that at that moment. And for me, everything looked like a mess, right? And now that I understand, I have to also get a lesson from that experience, knowing that even without me knowing at the moment, everything is happening for my own benefit, for my own good. And I will know that later, and that's okay. It's okay to not know. And you don't have to be in control of everything and know every single detail. Why is it happening? It's just sometimes impossible for you to know at that moment. But at least you have trust. At least you can ease into that experience, knowing that it's just will unfold the way it should be, and that's okay.
Absolutely. I'd like to say the only thing we really have any sense of control over is ourselves. So
Yeah.
even then, it depends on the day. But you can't control the world around you. You can't control what somebody else thinks, what somebody else feels, but what you can control is how you choose to react or
Mhm.
respond to a situation. So that whole idea of control that's kind of an illusion, as long as you're
Yeah.
having those conversations with yourself and realizing, okay, you know what, I'm not going to react to this. I'm going to calm myself down and I'm going to respond when I have that clarity and that ability to slow everything down.
Mm. And also realizing that whatever you have in your field of experience, let's say, and it's again, you kind of like receiving that for a reason. It's in a way a reflection of your consciousness, what's happening within you. And that's a way for you to learn more about yourself in those interactions, in those experiences, something for you. It's like an information that you receive in the outer world. That's the only way it could communicate with you, through that. So you know more about yourself. It's all about self-knowledge. So like the ultimate goal is to really like expand in your consciousness with the gaining that information.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree with you more that that's really where it all you're learning more and more about yourself and
Yeah.
your experience, and it's your journey. And that's why I always say, it's not my job to interfere with somebody else's journey. I'm on my own, but I'm learning along the way and just trying to have that
Yeah.
positive impact and be that light and that person that somebody can come to. But in the long run, I'm just really trying to figure out my own way, my own
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for shining your light and being the best that you can be. And of course, with your foundation, we would just want to learn more about what are the aspects and areas that you focus on. And if you can tell more about it, and then how we can connect with you online for those who could, who would like to learn more in detail about that.
Absolutely. So I run the DeNicola Family Foundation, and we have four passions. We have humanitarian recognition. So we give an award out in the host Super Bowl city to NFL staffers and players that are
Mhm.
giving back to their communities. And we're about to expand. We're doing a shining bright star scholarship for children.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
kids that are starting to get into that philanthropic, that charity mindset. We want to start acknowledging them young and encouraging that. And from there, we're also going to branch into the sciences and healthcare, because we feel like there are so many people in the healthcare industry that should be being recognized for their due diligence and everything that they do to try to make the world healthier and a better
Yeah.
place. And then we have conservation. I work a lot with different accredited AZA zoos, the Elmwood Park Zoo, in trying to educate about different animals and how we can interact or stay away from, but also the importance of conservation, our carbon footprint, helping people dig water wells all around the world, plant trees. That's something that, in my opinion, contributes to the next one, which is World Health. We do a
Right.
lot with different hospitals, globally and locally, and we encourage like the American Thoracic Society, Ronald McDonald houses. Um, a healthy body, a healthy mind is how we are going to have that positive contribution to the world around us. If we are not healthy in our mind, if we are not healthy in our body, we're not putting our best foot forward, we're not really able to contribute as much as we could to the
Right.
world around us. So global health is one. And then my personal favorite is cultural diplomacy. I work as the vice chair with the Humpty Dumpty Institute, that is an NGO, non-government organization that works with embassies around the world, as well as members of Congress. And what we do is we facilitate dialogues between groups of people that normally wouldn't be sitting down and having intense conversations, as well as cultural programs where we use art or food or film and we exchange how we live our lives through these
Mm,
things. We've done music programs, and it's a way for us all to kind of learn and grow even through arts and different cultures. Because I personally know I like to think that I know who I am, but again, it's experience,
mm,
and the more things you're exposed to, the more you're like, oh, I
yeah.
do like that, or I didn't know that, and you just keep growing, and it becomes kind of addictive. But I love the cultural diplomacy because I think it is a test of self. A lot of the times to be able to sit in these rooms and engage with people who have completely different opinions, completely different
Mm,
viewpoints, and to maintain that calm in yourself and really be open and empathetic and listening and compassionate. And when you're able to do that and work together, the incredible things
mm,
you can accomplish through this self-control, even if you don't see eye to eye on certain things. So those are our four passions, and we are constantly doing it locally, outside the Philadelphia area, but also all across the United States. And globally, we're doing things in, well, we're continuing to do things in Africa. We're doing things in Italy right now. And
mhm,
so we're just continuing to see where the need is, where the individuals would like us to be, and how we can continue to just grow and create these networks for people to engage with us. So we are on Facebook, Instagram. We also have our own website, DeNicola Family Foundation, and there's this real easy landing page that you can fill out, and you contact me. That directly goes to me. So if you have any ideas or things you'd like to see, or just need somebody to talk to, feel free to message us on social media or on that webpage, and you'll get me. You won't get some
mm.
stranger. It's actually me who answers all of those.
That's great. Wow. So, yeah, you are dealing with a lot of aspects or society growth, I would say, and the foundation for the successful life to emerge on the planet. And personally, and also like in an interaction with people, like you mentioned, we always have people with different opinions, different points of view. But it's not that we want to have the same opinion. We just need to be open to listen and be able to find that common ground, to know our own points of view and really understand and be compassionate and empathetic. So once we cultivate those I would say attributes within ourselves, the more effective we can make decisions and really eliminate any necessary emotion that's usually involved in those discussions that could be detrimental to the benefit of the society.
I like to say that, we're seeing this influx of depression and anxiety. And through my experience of really opening yourself up to having these conversations, to engaging with people who
Mm,
have these different viewpoints, who have these different ways of seeing the world, I've noticed my anxiety of sitting in a room with anybody has decreased, because I can have these conversations through this exercise and maintain my own calm.
yeah,
And so I feel like a lot of our anxiety is because we continue to prevent ourselves preemptively from engaging with people who are might be different, or might have those polarized opinions, because we're kind of fearful we won't have control of ourselves, or fearful of what might be said or being judged. But in that practice of doing those things, you find yourself calmer. You find yourself
yes,
more empathetic, and feeling all this depression that I constantly am hearing people having. A lot of people say depression is that lack of human connection.
yeah,
And a lot of times we're already isolating, when we cut people off because they believe this or they do that. And we get so angry and worked up that we're continuing to cut ourselves off from more and more people. But if we continue to practice that calm and that approachability and that compassion, you connect with more and more and more people. And that depression of feeling so isolated and so alone, lessens. So not only does that anxiety lessen, that depression lessens, and you feel more interconnected with, the entire world. You become more of a global citizen than, in your own safe space. Because sometimes it's necessary to be uncomfortable to grow. It's a necessity.
Yeah, and we also have to know that communication and connection with other human beings, it's really one of the basic needs for a human being to be, to feel alive, to feel fully living, you know? It's one of the basic human needs to be connected to other people. And when we deprive ourselves from that, we cut ourselves off, yes, we have that mental health issues in terms of anxiety and depression, but also like when we were talking about people communicating, when we start being like frightened by what opinions of others are, it's usually because we have certain belief or attachment to the identity that we believe that's who we are, right? And if it's being kind of like threatened in our way, that if somebody believes in something different that we believe in, that shakes our ground. It feels uncomfortable to continue that conversation. And that's how we usually cut it off. But what if we look at it differently? We don't have to be attached to that identity. We don't have to think that this belief is the only thing that could exist, right? It's not that my truth is the only truth. We have different opinions, different points of view, and everybody believes it's what's true for them. That's because it's something that is dearest to their heart. So if we're just gonna be open and compassionate and listening, first, I think we should cultivate the skill of listening to another person without interrupting, just everything that they has to say, and just like feel yourself in their shoes, like kind of like understand their situation. And if you connect more, if you become more vulnerable, it becomes like both ways, and somebody would listen to you as well, and now you are being heard, your voice is being heard, you're being understood, and you no longer you don't have that need to cut yourself off from interacting with that person, because everything falls in naturally. It's just like effective conversation, and then mental health issue disappear all of a sudden. So everything is connected, and we just need to really pay attention to, yes, the way we communicating, but it all starts with how you talk to yourself and how you're gonna give yourself that self-care, self-love that we just spoke about, and really kind of accept, embrace who you are with all your imperfections that you might think of them. Um, but still, everything that here and now is what should be. So you just need to accept this is the way it is. And you don't need to have that validation from the outside. Your opinion to yourself is the only opinion that matters. You are your own authority, and that's what you should listen to. And then out of that space will be born a new way of interacting with other people.
Yes, and I like to say also, just to be an example. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're sitting with somebody that whatever it is they don't like about you, you can actually be an example when you're confident in yourself and you love yourself as to why those things might not be true. It's not your job to convince somebody otherwise. By you just being you and living your most authentic life and not letting your foundation be shook by a difference of opinion, you're already being an example of, wow, this person's not reacting to my negative comments about them. Maybe they know something I don't, or look at, they're just living their life out loud. They're being loved. They're being light. I kind of like that. Maybe I wasn't right by making these assumptions. Maybe I wasn't right. But the only way you can effectively be that change for the world around you is, like you said, by loving yourself, knowing who you
Yeah.
are, continuing to give yourself that elasticity of growth, and just being being a person that people can talk to, being a person that just knows yourself, loves yourself, and loves the world. Like it's okay to love the world.
Yes, definitely. And like with you just shining your light and, unapologetically stepping into your power and being who you are, that's all you need as to set an example for others of what's available for them in their own journeys. So it's kind of like even self-explanatory. You don't need to go any further than that. Just focus on your own excitement, your joy, your passion, and just leave that.
Yes, yes. Living your life out loud is just the best thing you can do.
Definitely. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and wisdom. It was a pleasure knowing you. And I'm going to add all the links to the podcast show notes so everybody can check it out online. And as we close today, what would be the final thought for our listeners?
Um, practice, practice talking to yourself, practice loving yourself. Don't listen to that voice in the back of your head that might say you can't do something. Try it, do it, contribute to the world around you, and just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the beauty of the world, and be the beauty in the world.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.